Today we will improve our English listening skills with the story of one of the most influential political figures of our time, Vladimir Putin. But before we begin, let me ask you, have you ever wondered how a boy from an ordinary Soviet family became the leader of Russia? His story is full of unexpected turns, power struggles, and global influence. Let's dive into his journey. Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin was born on October 7, 1952 in Leningrad, now St. Petersburg, Soviet Union. His early years were not easy. His family lived in a small communal apartment, like many others in the USSR. His father was a factory worker and a war veteran, while his mother took care of the household. The hardships of post-war life shaped his character, making him disciplined and determined. As a child, Putin was active and independent. He was fascinated by spy stories and dreamed of becoming an intelligence officer. He took up judo and sambo, excelling in both sports. These martial arts not only gave him physical strength, but also taught him patience, strategy, and self-control, qualities that later defined his leadership style. In 1975, Putin graduated from Leningrad State University with a degree in law. Soon after, he joined the KGB, the Soviet Secret Service. His work in the KGB took him to Dresden, East Germany, where he spent several years as an intelligence officer. During this time, he witnessed the decline of the Soviet Union and the fall of the Berlin Wall. This period deeply influenced his political views, reinforcing his belief in strong state power. When the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, Putin left the KGB and returned to St. Petersburg. He entered politics, working as an advisor to the mayor. His ability to handle complex situations quickly gained him recognition. Soon he moved to Moscow, where he joined the administration of President Boris Yeltsin. Rising through the ranks, he became the head of the Federal Security Service FSB, the successor of the KGB. In 1999, Yeltsin unexpectedly resigned, and Putin was appointed acting president. Many Russians did not know much about him at the time, but his strong, decisive approach quickly won public support. In 2000, he was elected president. His main goal was to restore order and strengthen Russia's global position. He launched reforms, took control of key industries, and fought corruption. Under his leadership, Russia's economy improved due to rising oil prices. He also took a firm stance against separatism in Chechnya, leading a military campaign to regain control over the region. His tough approach made him popular among many Russians, who saw him as a leader capable of restoring national pride. But his rule was not without controversy. Critics accused him of suppressing political opposition and controlling the media. Despite this, his popularity remained high. When his two presidential terms ended in 2008, he became prime minister, while his close ally, Dmitry Medvedev, took the presidency. However, few doubted that Putin was still in charge. In 2012, Putin returned as president, winning another election. His policies became even more assertive, especially in foreign affairs. The annexation of Crimea in 2014 brought international sanctions, but also boosted his support at home. Many Russians viewed it as the restoration of lost national pride. His leadership continued to shape Russia's domestic and global position. Over the years, he built a system where he held significant power, with little political opposition. He adapted to challenges, maintained control, and remained a central figure in Russian politics. But what makes Putin such a powerful leader? His ability to act decisively, control key institutions, and maintain a strong image has kept him in power for decades. His story is not just about politics. It is about strategy, resilience, and the desire to shape history. Now, let's move to the next chapter of his return to the presidency in 2012 marked a turning point in Russian politics. Mass protests erupted in Moscow and other cities, with many Russians questioning the fairness of the election. Despite this, Putin remained firm. He introduced new laws restricting protests and tightened control over political opponents. His leadership became more centralized, and his influence over state institutions grew stronger. During this period, Russia's relationship with the West became increasingly tense. In 2014, a major crisis unfolded in Ukraine. After months of protests, Ukraine's pro-Russian president was removed from power. In response, Russia annexed Crimea, a move widely condemned by Western countries. Sanctions followed, targeting Russian businesses and officials. Despite economic pressure, Putin's approval ratings soared. Many Russians saw Crimea's return as a victory and proof that their country was regaining its lost influence. At the same time, Russia became more active on the global stage. In 2015, Putin launched a military intervention in Syria, supporting the government of Bashar al-Assad. This move strengthened Russia's position in the Middle East and showed that it could challenge Western influence. While criticized by some, it demonstrated Putin's strategy of using military power to achieve political goals. Domestically, he focused on maintaining stability. State-controlled media played a key role in shaping public opinion. Political opposition was weakened, with critics either jailed, forced into exile, or restricted from participating in elections. One of the most well-known opposition figures, Alexei Navalny, repeatedly challenged Putin's authority but faced multiple arrests and legal actions. Despite economic difficulties, including the effects of Western sanctions and falling oil prices, Putin maintained control. His government adapted by promoting national industries and reducing dependence on foreign markets. Large infrastructure projects, such as the bridge connecting Russia to Crimea, symbolized his vision of a strong and independent nation. In 2018, Putin was re-elected for another six-year term. By this time, he had already ruled Russia longer than most Soviet leaders, except for Stalin. His leadership style remained firm, focused on security, stability, and national pride. However, challenges continued to emerge. Economic stagnation, declining living standards, and growing dissatisfaction among younger generations led to small but persistent protests. One of the biggest political moves of his career came in 2020. A constitutional referendum allowed him to reset his presidential terms, giving him the possibility of staying in power until 2036. This change confirmed that Putin was determined to shape Russia's future for years to come. His policies reflected his long-term vision, strengthening Russia's role in world affairs, ensuring political control at home, and preventing any threats to stability. Over the years, he built a system where loyalty and strategic decision-making kept him at the center of power. But how will history remember him? To some, he is a leader who restored Russia's strength and influence. To others, he is a symbol of authoritarianism and control. His story is still being written, and the future remains uncertain. Now, let's move to the final chapter of his journey. As we look to the future, Putin's role in Russian history seems secure for now. However, his legacy remains a subject of debate both within Russia and internationally. Despite the praise from some quarters for his efforts to restore Russia's global stature, his leadership style has also faced criticism for undermining democratic institutions, suppressing political opposition, and limiting freedom of expression. His foreign policies, marked by assertiveness, have led to conflicts with the West, especially in regions like Ukraine, Syria, and parts of Eastern Europe. His actions on the international stage, such as the annexation of Crimea and support for Assad's regime, have often been viewed as aggressive moves aimed at countering Western influence. At the same time, Putin's strongman image is both admired and feared by different segments of the Russian population. For many, he represents a figure who prioritizes Russia's sovereignty and is willing to make tough decisions, even at the cost of international relations. Despite this, the Russian economy has not grown at the rate many had hoped for during his early years in power. Although some sectors, like energy, have remained strong, the country faces challenges such as low wages, high inflation, and limited economic diversification. The younger generation, in particular, feels disconnected from the promises of the past and questions whether the political system led by Putin offers the future they want. Putin's grip on power seems unshaken, yet there are signs that the Russian political landscape could be evolving. The country's political system, while still firmly in his hands, is starting to show cracks. The economic stagnation, coupled with the pressure of international sanctions and internal dissatisfaction, might create an environment where change is inevitable, even if it happens gradually. Whether or not Putin's leadership will last until 2036, his influence over Russian politics and society cannot be denied. His decisions have shaped Russia in profound ways, making him a central figure in the country's modern history. For better or worse, Vladimir Putin has created a lasting imprint on Russia's political identity. As we conclude this story, we've not only learned about the history of a significant political figure, but also explored how history is made through strong leadership, strategic decisions, and, at times, controversy. History will likely judge Putin on both the accomplishments and the controversies of his presidency. But there's no doubt that his legacy will continue to influence Russia for many years to come. In studying Putin's life and leadership, we can learn more than just political events. We can explore the broader themes of power, authority, and resilience that play out in the stories of many world leaders. Today, we've delved into one of the most important figures in contemporary global politics, and we've seen how a leader's choices shape not only their country, but the wider world. This story is an ongoing narrative, and as the world changes, so too will the story of Vladimir Putin. From his rise through the KGB ranks to his position at the helm of one of the most powerful nations on earth, his journey reflects the complexities of modern leadership, national identity, and the challenges of balancing internal and external demands. Only time will tell what the ultimate chapter of his story will be. Thus, the story of Vladimir Putin's life and rule provides a powerful narrative for anyone looking to understand the intricacies of modern geopolitics. It's a story filled with lessons on leadership, power, and the challenges of governing in an ever-changing world.